Hello and welcome to the Radio Times Premier League show. My name is James and I'm here with Ketch from Match of the Day magazine to talk through all the live games this weekend. We've got 5 live games to get through, a whole new season to talk about, so let's get cracking. Okay, Ketch, Man United versus Leicester City. This is the Friday game. And this is kind of a weird one. I want to get excited about the new season. I am looking forward to it, but every time I see Jose Mourinho's face, there's kind of enthusiasm just drains. I mean, what is it about the negativity around United this summer?
Well, it's Jose's difficult third season. I don't think he's ever stayed in charge of a club for more than 3 seasons, so maybe he's a bit worried about that. He's also had the added headaches of not having his best players on the pre-season tour, so he hasn't had, Pogba, Lingard, Fellaini, Young, the players who are involved in the World Cup, basically. So he's frustrated at the lack of face time he's had with his players. Also, they've been dragged around North America on a pre-season tour, drawing with MLS clubs, and he's also had headaches like rumours of Pogba wanting to leave and go to Barcelona, and Pogba's also asked for a £200,000 pay rise. So whether that'll make him play twice as well, I don't know. So he's not having a great time of it, Mourinho, and I think he's under massive pressure because he's seeing what the likes of Liverpool are doing in pre-season, and Man City were obviously brilliant. So it's he's not the happiest at the minute.
But the World Cup issue is not something that is exclusive to United. I mean, Tottenham as well had, 9 players through to the semi-final?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it's not exclusive to Mourinho, I suppose.
Yeah, I think his main frustration is he hasn't had a marquee player signing. They bought Fred for 52 million, but I think he feels that they're not miles away from Liverpool and Man City, but maybe they are a couple of players away, and he hasn't had that back in his message at the minute. Is he's told his chief executive what he wants, and it's up to him to now deliver it between the next 24 hours basically, because that's when the window shuts.
And what do we need to know about this game? So it's United Leicester at home at Old Trafford.
Yeah, Friday night game, so it should be really good. Leicester, they're going to be missing some players as well, key players. Vardy and Maguire just returned to training yesterday, I believe. So if they are involved, it'll be for an hour, 50 minutes. To be honest, I'd be surprised if Maguire's involved. He's actually been heavily linked with a move to Man United, so that is a very interesting one. But apart from that, Leicester have got a pretty exciting young English player in their squad now. He'll start. James Maddison, who paid £20 million for him. I saw him live last season. Very exciting, dynamic young player. I think if he gets starts for Leicester, he can work his way into the England team this season, so he's one to watch. And the other signing, pretty shrewd signing I thought from Leicester, was the 3.5 million transfer of Johnny Evans, who arrived from West Brom. He's unfortunately injured, but apart from that, Leicester should be pretty much as they were last season. So yeah, to be honest, I'm a bit worried. I think it could be a bit anticlimactic, this one. So my prediction for this one, I think, could be a draw. I'm a bit worried it could be 0-0. So, but hopefully not.
Great start to the season, that one. Okay, yeah, so that one is going to be kicking off at 8 o'clock this Friday on Sky Sports. So hopefully not the 0-0 draw to kick things off, but never mind. So next up, we've got Newcastle versus Spurs. So, I mean, let's move on. I mean, how has the summer treated these two clubs?
Well, I don't think either will be too happy with the way that the Summers have. Spurs haven't signed anyone, so I think it's hard to upgrade their squad, but they haven't signed anyone. Newcastle is very interesting because it's going to be interesting from an armchair supporter's point of view, because there's currently a player revolt going on. Newcastle, I don't know if you've heard this, they're in dispute with their owner over the bonus payments, and as such, they haven't actually recorded their walk-ups to the camera for the green screen. So Sky Sports will have to do something to illustrate the formation before the game. So I'm very interested to see what they do. But Newcastle,
use your little illustrations, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Match of the day, you've got them already.
There's a lot of talented illustrators out there, but Sky Sports are going to have to do something. They've also, paid a lot of money for specific broadcast rights, and the players aren't speaking to media, and this is in protest at the bonus scheme that they would get if they were to finish a certain point in the league. So that's a very interesting one. There's also the fans aren't too happy with the lack of investment in the squad, but that's something that Newcastle fans should be used to, because there hasn't been much investment. I think they've spent about £17 million on players, sold about £45 million worth of players, so there's obviously an imbalance there, but that's kind of synonymous with Mike Ashley's the way he likes to run the team. In terms of their players, I'm expecting a big season from Jose Perez, who finished really strongly last season. I think he scored about 8 goals in his last 10 games. He weighed in with a couple of assists. He kind of finally cracked that number 10 role. He's had a summer off, and I think if he can start well, I can see him, getting double figures, maybe 15, hopefully 20 goals. And they've also, Newcastle just secured the loan signing of Rondon, so they've got a proper number 9 who can lead from the front and press a defence. And I think there should be more goals in this Newcastle team than last year.
And the interesting thing from a Spurs point of view, obviously, is the fact that they're going to have, the first couple of games away as well, and then they're coming to Wembley for one home game, and then mid-September time they're going to actually be in their new stadium. So they will, investment or not, they've got to sort of make sure that stadium becomes a happy hunting ground for them fairly quickly at that point.
Yeah, and they're traditionally slow starters as well, Spurs. I don't think Harry Kane's ever scored in August for Spurs, which is a bit of an incredible fact. So he'll be looking to at least. And
he sort of towards the end, of the World Cup campaign, people were wondering actually how fit he was at that point.
It looked like he had a knock, and he's actually only just returned to training yesterday. So if he plays again, it'll be for maybe an hour. But yeah, Spurs it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fantastic to see the new stadium. There has been some images from inside. It looks brilliant. They've got that game against Liverpool to open it up with. But there hasn't been any signings. They are linked with Sessegnon today. From Fulham, so over the next 24 hours, that's one to keep an eye out. Daniel Levy does tend to do his business late, so let's see, Spurs fans, fingers crossed you get at least one player over the line.
Have you thought about a prediction for this one?
I think Spurs should win it. This was actually an identical fixture last season. They both opened the season at St James's Park last season. I think it could be 2-1 to Tottenham.
Very good. Okay, so that one is going to be live from 12:30 this Saturday, also on Sky Sports. So, third up, we've got Wolves versus Everton, which means we've got the first chance to see a newly promoted side, which is always good. Is quite fun to see.
Wolves are back after 6 years, and I think this is one of the strongest squads to be promoted to the Premier League. Right. Heavily invested last season, and they've backed that up again. I think they've signed. They've got Portuguese owners, Portuguese manager. I think they've got 9 Portuguese players in the first team squad there. So
nothing to do with an agent.
No, certain agent is he's helped facilitate those moves. But they've signed some really big players. They got Patricio, who's the number 1 goalkeeper for Portugal. João Moutinho, who is an experienced midfielder, played a lot of Champions League games. He's in there. And today they've just secured the signing of Adama Traore, who's a very dynamic winger. I think they want to try and get him to play more centrally, but this is a guy I saw play live last season. Strong, fast, powerful. He does give up possession a lot, but that's because he takes risks. That's a player that Wolves fans should be really excited to see. He's an edge of the seat type of player that the younger Wolves fans, maybe who read Match of the Day magazine, they're gonna love Traore. He's a very, very talented player. I think he'll comfortably stay up. It'll be interesting to see if they can get top half and maybe even nudge towards the Europa League spots.
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly ambition there, isn't there? And we saw some Newcastle finishing in the top half last season as well. So there's that ability to push on quite quickly. I think.
Absolutely, yeah.
I suppose we should look quickly at Everton.
The new era under Marco Silva. They haven't spent as big as they did last season. I think maybe learned the lesson. They maybe spent too much last season, but they've got a big marquee player in Richarlison. They paid a lot of money for him, 35 million, potentially rising to 50. This is a player that Marco Silva was able to get a lot out of while he was at Watford last season, and then when Silva left, Richarlison's form seemed to drop off. Richarlison's a Brazilian player, so they speak the same language, Portuguese, and I think it's he's identified him as a player. The Brazilians seem to love him. He's only 21 and he's really heavily favoured back in Brazil. So I think he's a player who they're expecting to weigh in with a lot of goals and assists, and it'd be interesting to see how he does. And they've also signed Digne from Barcelona, fullback. So they've got 4 good fullbacks actually at Everton. They'll want to get Europa League, and they've actually got quite an eeasy start. I think they've got Wolves and they play Southampton at home and Bournemouth away, so there's an opportunity to get points on the board early, which is a big deal.
Prediction for that one?
I think that hopefully let's see some goals. I'd like to see maybe a 2-2 or a 3-2 Everton.
Nice. Okay. And that one is the first BT Sport game, so that's on at 5:30. So now we go to Sunday's games. There's 2 more games, starting with Liverpool versus West Ham. Obviously, there's a lot of excitement around Liverpool's summer signings about where Jurgen Klopp can take this team next. Is it justified at that point?
I think, yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've spent the most. West Ham have also spent, but Liverpool have gone on a big spending spree and they've bought in the areas they need. So they've got a keeper, they've got some midfielders. The squad now looks really strong and deep. Liverpool, they've got a title challenge on their hands here. They have to, I think, with the money they've spent. They've not won the league since 1990. That's far too long for a club of the size of Liverpool. So this is their time to mount a serious challenge. It won't be easy. Man City were fantastic last season. They've got a lot. They've got the work cut out. Liverpool, they need to be more consistent against the lesser teams. They got big results against Man City. They beat they beat other top four sides. It's the smaller clubs. They need to be on their game for those games. They've got Champions League campaign to think about as well. But I'm expecting big things. The keeper is a massive signing for me. So all of a sudden they've got Virgil van Dijk at the centre of defence. I think he'll be going to become the world's best centre half in the next couple of seasons. And Alisson, they've got a marquee goalkeeper who's calming influence. He can do all the bread and butter goalkeeper stuff, but he can also play out from the back like every modern keeper should. So that is a big deal. They've got a little bit of a centre-back crisis. Klavan's injured, Gomez has a knock, and Lovren isn't ready from the World Cup. So at the minute it's Van Dijk, and I think they played a young lad, Phillips, who's a teenager basically in the last pre-season friendly. So they're hoping Gomez will be back fit. But apart from that, it's a full-strength team.
And for West Ham, a new start for them as well.
Yeah, and they've spent big as well. No one outside the top four has spent as much as them. They spent about £100 million. They broke their transfer record twice this summer. They got an interesting player, young French under-21 centre-back Issa Diop to play in the centre of defence, and then they broke so he was 22 million, then they paid 40 million, breaking the record for Felipe Anderson from Lazio, who's an interesting player, very dynamic, creative. Man United heavily linked with him the last couple of transfer windows. It hasn't happened. West Ham have got him, and then they've also got Jack Wilshere. So we're fascinated to see how Jack Wilshere will operate permanently away from Arsenal. He did okay last season, but obviously it wasn't right for him to stay there. He felt that he needed a move. He's got that move. So he said he's a boyhood West Ham fan. There's pictures of him as a young lad in West Ham kit. So let's see if he can do it for his second boyhood club, as it would be. But it's ambitious from West Ham, but I'm worried if it could be a little bit too ambitious and there's a bit too much happening at once there. So we'll see with them.
Very good. Quick prediction for that one?
I think Liverpool will win, but nothing too spectacular. Maybe 2-0.
Very good. And that one is at 1:30 live on Sky Sports. So we've got the last one, which is Arsenal versus Man City. So a new era, new manager for Arsenal, fresh start for the champions. This feels like it could be the tie of the weekend. Or I
would say so. Yeah, two massive clubs, and it's just going to be fascinating to see what an Arsene Wenger-less Arsenal will look like. The Unai Emery's there. I think he needs to toughen up this team basically, and he kind of has done. He's brought in Torreira to go alongside Xhaka in the middle. Torreira had a good World Cup for Uruguay, so he's spent quite a bit of money on him. And they need to adapt to Emery's methods. He wants the team to press, and he's a bit of a video man. We're hearing that he will send videos of opposition and advice to his players, and he has methods of seeing if they've properly watched the video. This drove a few PSG players to distraction last season, so they're going to have to adapt to a completely new way of life at Arsenal. And it's a second season outside the Champions League, so they need to be looking at the top four and see if they can do anything there.
But this was what happened. I mean, when Wenger first came in, to be fair to him, he came in as the transformative person to the club. I mean, I know we're not quite talking about that same kind of complete sort of ripping up the rule book sort of thing, but that's probably what this club needs at this point.
I think so, yeah, and I think Arsenal fans wanted it to be freshened up. It has been freshened up, and they're probably really excited to see how it goes. They couldn't have asked for a harder start though, so be a good game to watch. Yeah,
let's talk very quickly about City. I mean, I think no side this decade has managed to retain the Premier League title, and they set a hell of a high bar last season.
They smashed all the records last season. I don't think that'll happen again, but they're definitely favourites as far as I'm concerned. It's hard to upgrade that squad, but they've had a go. They've bought Mahrez, we know all about Mahrez. Very exciting player. He's just another threat for them, and I think he's just an experienced Premier League player now. I think he guaranteed a big assist off him. He could be the biggest assist maker in the league if he gets his starts. And I'm also really excited to see potential emergence of Phil Foden, young England player who's been very hyped. I'm really excited to see what Pep can get out of him. I think he's looking at him to be maybe a long-term replacement for David Silva. So I want to see Phil Foden get more minutes from an England fan perspective. And I think City also really need to have a serious go at the Champions League.
I was going to ask you about this. I mean, is there a sense where that, frankly, is their priority at the moment, and that their league performance could suffer as a result of that?
League is always the priority, but they do need to go deeper into the Champions League, at least semi-final, at least final at least. That's the next step for this club. They achieved so much last season, but they do need to go on and have a real go at the Champions League, and I think they will. They don't seem to have any injuries for their first team, so they've got every chance. I think they'll win this game as well.
Okay, what's the prediction?
I think they'll win 2-1.
Okay, very good. And that one is live on Sky Sports at 4 p.m. on Sunday. So we've covered all the games. Is there anything else that we need to know about before the start of the season?
It's the season. It's the time of the season where fantasy football fans are, pretty stressed out. We're doing a Match of the Day magazine. We're doing a fantasy football league that we're opening out to the public. So come and join our league. The code and link might even be flashing up on the screen now. It'll at least be in the description. We're encouraging, especially parents and kids, to do a team each and see who can be the best fantasy football manager in the family household. And I've got a team in there. See if you can beat my team, which I've named after Harry Maguire's head. Nice. after its World Cup. So come and join our league. It's open to the public, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it.
How do you keep the stamina to do it? I mean, I forget one week, and then I realise that all the subs that I was going to make, then do really well, but I haven't done it, and then I give up the next week.
It's a commitment. You've got to go in there if you want to win. You've got to commit and do it every Friday.
Right, fine. Okay, well, maybe you can give us some tips in the coming weeks. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. We have on radiotimes.com a full guide to all the Premier League fixtures this season. So all the broadcast schedule, all the changes, all of that, you can find us on radiotimes.com. And you will be very busy throughout the season, I'm
Absolutely, yeah. Looking forward to it.
Thanks very much. See you again.